Contractors, Kristin here, CPA and Certified Construction Industry Financial Professional at Katz Bosch, a CPA and consulting firm that specializes in construction contractors. Today, we're joined by Claudia Walter, a CPA and a CCIFP as well, to chat about the changes to financial statements related to leasing. Now, this is a huge change. Off-balance sheet leases, such as your lease for your office space, will now be required to be on the balance sheet as a liability. There will be an offsetting asset, but the impacts of this change are pervasive. This change will affect the 12/31/2022 financial statements. Katz Bosch has a ton of resources related to this change, and we're teaming up with CFMA to give a webinar on November 9th. But we just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about how this impacts construction contractors specifically. So Claudia, thanks for joining us. What are the biggest items that contractors need to be concerned with?
Yeah, thanks for having me today, Chrissy. So how we interpret related party leases will definitely impact contractors. Most of our contractors own their own buildings or maybe multiple locations in another entity, typically an LLC. The terms of the lease are sometimes ambiguous or non-existent altogether. The new standard says we need to look at the legally enforceable terms of the lease. So if there's no lease or the lease is month to month, or if it's a one-year period or something, but the contractor guarantees the mortgage on the building, that guarantee is definitely legally enforceable. Therefore, there's a lease that needs to be recorded on the balance sheet. And then we'd have to look to see like over what term we're going to record that, and it gets complicated.
All right, so it sounds like we're using substance over form when looking at related party leases. Great. And they can't just get out of this by making something month to month.
Exactly. Yeah. So another item that heavily impacts contractors is going to be embedded leases. So one example that's going to impact the construction industry is cranes. So a lot of times we think about a crane as a subcontractor. You have the crane and the operator. But if you have a crane installed on a job site, you have exclusive use to that crane. Nobody else is using that crane during that period. Therefore, you have an embedded lease, and the lease should be capitalized on your balance sheet. Another example is if you have an agreement with a ready mix plant or an asphalt plant or something like that for them to exclusively sell their product to you, being the contractor. If you have exclusive use to their product, then there's an embedded lease for the plant itself.
So it sounds like contractors should start reviewing their subcontract agreements now to make sure there's no embedded leases that they'll need to tackle at year end.
Agreed. The last thing I want to mention is the impact on the change on debt covenants. So although there's no effect on equity when the leases are initially capitalized on the balance sheet, debt to equity ratios are going to be impacted as we're adding debt to the balance sheet. Additionally, we don't know how banks are going to factor in the new right of use assets in the tangible net worth covenants. If the right of use assets are considered intangibles, a tangible net worth ratio could be highly impacted by these leases coming on the balance sheet.
Thanks, Claudia. It does sound like contractors should start now and not put this off to the end of the year, because there could definitely be some unforeseen circumstances related to this.
Right.
So contractors, if you haven't already attended a webinar on leasing, we have one coming up on November 9th. So please consider attending and check out our previous video blogs on leasing. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. So have a great day, and we'll see you next time.